So the briars, what does the briars represent? Well, I said over here the idea was chasing, and you can add that. But briars are aggravating and scratching. Now, it doesn't take a lot of imagination to think of a persecutor who matches that description. They're aggravating. They just do things to get on your nerves. Things that don't, just harassment, things that don't benefit them. They just do it to make you uncomfortable. And scratching, a scratch, it's not a bad wound. You get scratched by a dog or a cat or a briar or whatever. It's not, not going to probably even go get a Band-Aid for it, but it's just it's just enough to bother you, like to be uncomfortable. When you go through, you brush against something and you say, so that kind of persecutor, not doing any real damage, but just making life uncomfortable. But number two, thorns. Well, thorns are worse than briars. Thorns pierce and wound. That's a different kind of persecutor. They pierce and wound. And then scorpions, they strike and sting. You're not going to die of a thorn, but you could die of a scorpion, right? So these are progressively worse kinds of persecution. And you could go through the New Testament, even the Old Testament, or both, and you could find illustrations for all those, So scorpions, they're more aggressive. Well, an easy illustration of that's going to be the enemies of Jesus, because they attacked him. He didn't go where they were. They came. I mean, he went to preach, but they came to his preaching and tried to catch him in his words. They had these arguments that they concocted, that they launched on him. So they're more like scorpions than the other two. All right, so there's a way to preach that verse, I think, to make it interesting. Now, you might need more time. Are you good? Everybody good? All right, let's go into verse. Say again.
I was going to say, could it be with scorpions? You had mentioned that they are unexpected. Mm-hmm. So a trust in God that no matter, the plots to kill or the unexpected, here we are to attack, that God's going to take care of you.
Yeah, I would definitely make that point. And I would also make the point, let's see how to word this. Expect the unexpected, like with faith, you can have a tree that looks as healthy and strong as like an oak tree, right? That tree's going to last 100 years. But then a storm comes through with strong winds, and that tree falls over. And you say, I wouldn't believe that tree would. And you go out there and look at it, and it was rotten on the inside. But the outside looked fine. Well, that's the way it is with our faith. You can look fine in your suit on Sunday, sitting in your church pew singing, "Oh, how I love Jesus." But if there's a heart problem in there, and then you fall away, you fall into sin, to temptation. Somebody says, I would have never thought that about him. Yeah, well, that's because it's like the oak tree, because he didn't have his faith in his heart, or her faith in her heart. So I would make that point. The same thing is true about persecution. We have to be ready for it all the time. The time to prepare for the storm is before the storm, right? If you don't want your hay to get wet, when do you put it in the barn? Before the storm gets there. Because when the storm gets there, it's too late. Same thing is true with our faith. When is the time to build your faith to withstand persecution? Not when the persecution comes. You got to be building your faith every day. You can't microwave faith. You got to crock pot faith. It takes time. So that I would definitely make that point.